Welcome, welcome, and shalom to you who are listening to this message. This is From Four Corners, a series of messages to those who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father Yahuah, those who have come to know that it is He that gives life and life immeasurably through Yahusha Messiah. It is a message to those, I believe, who will be among the ranks of the 144,000 and multitude mentioned in Revelation 7th chapter. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and today is August 20th, 2014. This segment of From Four Corners is entitled Last Decision. Last Decision. My brothers and sisters, there are those of us who will face physical death before the return of Yahusha Messiah, before the return of our Mashyach, and there will be those who will be transformed upon His second coming. Each of us will come to a point where we will make the last decision. Yes, the last decision will come upon us whether we face physical death before the return of Yahusha Messiah or whether we are alive when He returns. We cannot avoid facing a time that the last decision before judgment will come upon us. Allow me to read some things to you, my brothers and sisters. Hebrews 9:27 and 28. It says, "And as it awaits men to die once, and after this, the judgment, so also the Messiah, having been offered once to bear the sins of many, shall appear a second time apart from sin to those waiting for Him unto deliverance." Luke 16:20 through 16:31 reads, "And there was a certain beggar named Eleazar, or some might say Lazarus, being covered with sores, who was placed at his gate, and longing to be fed with the crumbs which fell from a rich man's table. Indeed, even the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to be that the beggar died and was carried by the messengers to the bosom of Abraham. And the rich man also died and was buried. And while suffering tortures in the grave, having lifted up his eyes, he saw Abraham far away, and Eleazar, or Lazarus, in his bosom. And crying out, he said, Father Abraham, have compassion on me, and send Eleazar," or some, like I said, some may say Lazarus, "to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am suffering in this flame." But Abraham saying, "Son, remember that in your life you receive your good, and likewise Eleazar the evil. But now he is comforted, and you are suffering. And besides all this, between us and you a great chasm has been set, so that those who wish to pass from here to you are unable, nor do those from there pass to us." And he said, "Then I beg you, Father, that you would send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers. Let him warn them, lest they also come to this place of torture." Abraham said to him, "They have Moshe and the prophets, and let them hear them. They shall repent." Let them hear them. And he said, "No, Father Abraham, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they shall repent." But he said to him, "If they do not hear Moshe, or Masha, and the prophets, neither would they be persuaded, even if one should rise from the dead." You see, my brothers and sisters, we will face last decisions. We will face that last decision as it relates to our life and life immeasurably. Revelations 20, verse 11 to 15 says, "And I saw a great white throne, and him who was sitting on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and no place was found for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, standing before the throne, and books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged from what was written in the books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead who were in it, and death and the grave gave up the dead who were in them. And they were judged, each one according to his works. And the death and the grave were thrown into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And if anyone was not found written in the book of life, he was thrown into the lake of fire." My brothers and sisters, though we may not be fully certain as to how our spirits will function upon our physical death, at least those who will die before Yahusha's return, it appears that we might just be as one sleeping or in torment, depending on the decision we made. I believe if you are listening to this message by now, you probably have experienced someone dying that you once knew. Regardless of how a person reached their end physically, somewhere in the course of our life, a decision was made whether to accept Yahusha or not, whether to seek to do the will of the Almighty Father Yahuah or not. I have witnessed brothers and sisters claim those who never came into the truth regarding the true name and the understanding of the living Torah of Yahuah. I have witnessed people say that they did not make it. Their names will not be written in the book of life. I submit to you, my brothers and sisters, the structure of these earthen vessels and our spirit, the relationship that we have with the Most High Father, is beyond more than our understanding. There is much more to our existence than we have come to know, and it is He who is Almighty, who will make clear, who will make us to understand what is right, what is true, what is set apart. Let us not worry about what happened in times past, but in such a day, in such a time, for such a time as this, truth is emerging like never before. Our Messiah draws near. Galatians 5:17 reads, "For the flesh lusts against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, and these are opposed to each other, so that you do not do what you desire to do." In order for this verse to be true, there must and was and will be times when we will witness such evidence. Could it possibly have occurred with individuals struggling to learn the true name in or what it means to follow the living instruction, orders, and discipline from the Most High Father? Now, I am absolutely not saying it is okay to ignore the truth, but remember, information was not as readily available like it is today. So we are judged with a standard based on the knowledge that has been presented to us. Also remember, the scriptures inform us of times when things that were once hidden will be revealed. Let us come to realize we cannot jump on the excuse bandwagon, so to speak, and disregard the true name of the living Messiah, our living Father, our living Messiah, Yahuah, Yahusha. We cannot use excuses. We cannot try to say it's transliterated or cling on to the pagan terms. And soon end times will prove who are being used by the Spirit of Yahusha, and those who are shackled, caught in the stronghold of pagan names and titles that are used in an attempt to hide Yahuah and Yahusha's name will be freed, while there will be those who will die in the deception. We have been born for such a time as this, and it will be wise to come to the reality that it is the Most High Father that will make known all that is necessary, and that the information that He makes known to us comes with much responsibility. All too often we ignore the following critical words for such a time as we have entered. These words would be words that I consider critical. Ecclesiastes 1:18, it says, "For in much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases in knowledge increases in suffering." Luke 12:43-48 reads, "Blessed is the servant whom his master shall find so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you that he shall appoint him over all his possessions. But if the servant says in his heart, my master is delaying his coming, and begins to beat the male servants and female servants, and to eat and drink and be drunk, the master of the servant shall come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour that he does not know, and shall cut him in two, and appoint his portions with the unbelievers. And that servant who knew his master's desire and did not prepare, nor did according to his desire, shall be beaten with many stripes. But he who did not know, yet did what deserved flogging, shall be beaten with few. And everyone to whom much is given, from him much shall be demanded, and to whom much has been entrusted, from him much more shall be asked." Ezekiel 3:17-21 reads, "Son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Yasharal, and you shall hear a word from my mouth, and you shall warn them from me. When I say to the wrong, you shall certainly die, and you have not warned him, nor spoken to warn the wrong from his wrong way, to save his life, that same wrong man shall die in his crookedness, and in his blood I will require at your hand. But if you have warned the wrong, and he does not turn from his wrong, nor from his wrong way, he shall die in his crookedness, and you have delivered your being. And when a righteous one turns from his righteousness, and shall do unrighteousness, when I have put a stumbling block before him, he shall die. Because you did not warn him, he shall die in his sin, and his righteousness which he has done is not remembered, and his blood I require at your hand. But if you have warned the righteous one that the righteousness should not sin, and he did not sin, and he shall certainly live, because he have been warned, and you have delivered your being. My brothers and sisters, though every one of us are not watchmen, we do receive responsibilities as things are revealed to us. Yes, all too often we struggle sometimes with unbelief. Is this really happening? Are we truly experiencing the Spirit of Yahusha working and rising up within our presence? Indeed, we will come to know the answers, if not already. There will be times where hindsight may just be a learning experience, but I assure you, as end times get intense, there will be an increase in deaths like never before. If you doubt the reality of these words, consider visiting Revelation chapter 6, verse 8, and Revelation 9, verse 18. These are deaths that will occur before the return of Yahusha Messiah. These verses represent destruction and death like man has never before witnessed before the return of Yahusha Messiah. If one were to do the math, it will equate to well over 3.6 billion people killed during the Great Tribulation. If we believe we will be in the final Exodus, that Yahshua will be in a safe place, while the wrath of the Almighty Father Yahuah emerge with fierceness, then we will come to know that there will be much death during such times as the tribulation. Also consider this: we who consider ourselves candidates or participants of the final Exodus from the four corners of the earth will have representation at the very least. As it relates to leadership, at the very least, it would be the two witnesses mentioned in Revelation and Zechariah. Soon and very soon, many will face their last decision. Yes, we will know that was the last decision. Sometimes we would have made it many days ago, years ago, or we will realize that last opportunity to decide whom we will worship, whom we will seek to obey, will come before us. What will be your decision? Know this: most of us do not know when that time will come, but that does not mean ignore considering that it is possibly soon, or that it will come upon us as a surprise. Yours and or mine, either way you look at it, the last decision will soon come. Pray and watch. Ask yourself, what do you want to be represented as a result of the last decision you make regarding your life? What do you want to be said about the last decision you made when the opportunity to contribute towards the life of others, but yet you responded in silence or rebellion or unbelief? I pray that the life in these words will stir within you, and that each listener is able to discern and understand the importance of this message. May the Almighty Father Yahuah, in the name of Yahusha, be given all credit and esteem for all that is righteous, all that is good. May we come to realize that Isaiah 55:11 is a very powerful verse, and we will come to know what the orders and demands of the Most High are as we find ourselves humbled, corrected, reproved, and disciplined, as we find ourselves repenting, as we find ourselves within our own personal weaknesses, experiencing Yahusha Messiah rising up within us, giving us the strength and fortitude to press on into these trying days ahead. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, until next time, continue to seek to do the will of the Almighty Father. Continue to discover His living orders and command. Continue to understand the importance of embracing true discernment when the Spirit of Yahusha reveals, and respond with precision. Know when to speak and when to be silent, when to move and when to be still. For we are in a time of refinement like never before. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, I invite you to continue to stay tuned as From Four Corners continues. What will be your last decision? Shalom, shalom, shalom.